Oh, it's very athletic people.
Change the name.
Oh, yeah.
We're live now, so watch your P's and Q's. And it's never-
Be calm.
Huh?
Be very calm. It was anti-bullying day.
It is.
And that's a big factor.
All right, good evening, everybody. I will call this meeting to order. This is the meeting number 124 for Wednesday, February 26th of the Eastern Regional Service Board. So welcome. I would ask for the adoption of the agenda. It is tabled. Sheila and Bill. All those in favor? Opposed? Contrary? Carried. Thank you. Tonight we have some special guests. Very special. Good people. So we've invited in EcoNext and Newfound Sand, and both are going to give us a presentation for about 2 hours each.
They'll be here by themselves.
There'll be a small here by themselves. So I'll introduce, actually, why don't we go around the table and introduce ourselves to them, and then they can introduce ourselves. Maybe Mark, we'll start with you.
How you doing, Mark Barton, Mayor, Town of Footsville.
Tom Davis, Woodville Councilor, City of St. John's.
Gerard Tilly, Councilor consistently South, and Dave is one of my co-ops.
There you go. You already knew.
Greg Nosley, Ward 3, in St. John's.
Hilda Whale, Mayor of the Town of Woodburn.
Sandy Hickman, as Mayor of St. John's.
Jason O'Brien, Deputy Mayor, Bay Wolves.
Christy Dean, Director of Operations.
Danny Boone, Mayor of St. John's.
Holly Power, Board Clerk and Outreach Coordinator.
Steve Tessier, Chair of the Board.
Ben Tucker, Chief Administrative Officer.
Greg Trober, Director of Corporate Services.
Jill Bruce, Ward 1, Councilor, City of St. John's.
Rod Delaney, Mayor for Cupids. Carol Ridgely, Ward 5, Councilor of the City of St. John's.
Steve O'Leary, Deputy Mayor of St. John's.
Bill Lentil, Councilor Mount Pearl. Larry Beers, Councilor, Town of Paradise.
Me too.
Yes.
Charles Bellams, CEO of MSB.
So first up, we have EcoNext, and we have Karen and Audrey, so you guys can introduce yourselves and go into your presentation. I guess the easiest way, guys, is do you want to do questions as you go, or do you want to do questions at the end?
As we go, I think it's fine, yeah, feel free to interrupt, yeah.
Yep, sounds good. So there's a presentation for all of you back onto the board. There's a presentation back there. You can either spin in your seats or.
There's nothing magical there, we'll just speak to the slides, I think, so.
Well, actually, can you provide us a copy?
Yeah.
And then what we'll do is we'll get it sent out.
Yeah.
We have it, we'll attach it to our onboard package.
Yeah, so anybody else see. Perfect.
One pull up.
Board yours.
Great, so first, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you folks. Some friendly faces in the room, no enemies as far as I can tell, so that's good. My name is Kieran Hanley, I'm the CEO of EcoNext. EcoNext is an organization that's been around for almost 35 years now. We're an industry association that works to accelerate clean growth. So all those words like green economy, clean tech, net zero, we're the organization in the province that tries to match economic growth and economic development and industry growth with environmental sustainability. So we operate in a bunch of gray spaces, which is sometimes uncomfortable, but we feel that we're doing some good work. Our four focus areas really are clean energy, which if you asked us 5 years ago, we may not have said that, but obviously things are changing pretty quickly on that front. Working with industries such as our offshore industry, mining and others to pursue net zero and understand how they succeed in the context of a world that is increasingly caring more and more about environmental outcomes. What we're here today to talk about primarily, of course, is waste management and how we can extract value from some of the waste that right now is going straight into landfill. And also a group of companies with interesting clean technologies that help reduce our impacts on the environment. Next slide. We have three areas of activity. we do our best to incite, stimulate research and development and innovation in specific areas. And my colleague Audrey will talk to some of what we're doing specific in the field of waste. We're doing a lot of work, training and professional development to help the workforce succeed with skills that are going to be necessary as industries care more and more about the environment. So for example, we're working to quantify exactly what types of jobs are going to be required in our emerging clean energy industry, when they're going to be required, and where they're going to come from. All difficult questions. So that's the type of activity we're involved with there. And then also we're working directly with communities, some of those that you represent, to help understand how they can succeed in the context of net zero and reduce greenhouse gas emissions and improved environmental outcomes. 3 areas where we're active in that space. Right now, we're working with 6 different municipalities across the province to help them quantify their greenhouse gas emissions and make plans to address them in ways that align with their economic development priorities. We are working with a wide variety of municipalities to help them understand the climate change risks that they're facing, from increased storms, increased likelihood of wildfires, all the impacts of climate change. So we have staff members dedicated to working directly with municipalities on that front. And we're developing some programs to help businesses understand their impacts on the environment and what they can do to reduce those impacts while also improving their bottom line. So we'll have specific resources for them from a greenhouse gas perspective, also from an energy efficiency perspective, and from a waste management perspective. And I think maybe that's something we'll come back to this group with as we're developing our resources, make sure it makes sense from your perspective. With all that said, our team is growing. We're up to 13 folks now, and we anticipate more growth this year. Kind of the right organization at the right kind of moment in time. So more and more I'm becoming less of someone who does anything and more of just a figurehead who shows up and introduces my colleagues who actually do the work. And in this case, it's Audrey Parnell, who's our manager for circular economy. So she'll take it from there.
Yeah, so my role is founded in partnership with the MMSB, who very generously supplies my salary, which I appreciate, with really the idea that there is this big partnership that can exist between creating a catalyst for enterprise with respect to waste, and the fact that as an organization, EcoNext has the ability to be a bit more agile and move more quickly towards being able to attract and catalyze some of these enterprises into creation. And so the role was created in 2022, and I joined EcoNext in 2023 in June. So someone had this role prior to my arrival. So number one is really to increase economic activity around waste, to facilitate projects related to waste management across all of Newfoundland and Labrador, to raise awareness about opportunities for innovation, as well as to understand what sorts of problematic waste streams might exist across Newfoundland and Labrador, as well as to find ways to divert as many materials from the landfill as possible and find ways to generate value from those particular materials. We then renewed this project last winter, so we're currently in kind of phase 2, which will go until 2026. So since it was incepted, this project initially focused a lot on trying to collect information about organic waste from major industries. So trying to quantify how and where things like forestry, aquaculture, fisheries, and farming, where do they have significant amounts of organic waste, and how we could try to create enterprises situated proximal to those waste locations. So that way we're not moving organic waste all across the province. And this was, I think, one of my favorite things I've done since I started in this role is I met with the Harris Center, and I don't know if people here know Chris Patterson, who's like a very enthusiastic, engaging gentleman. And he said to me, "Do you know what happens to the wool in this province?" And I said, "No, Chris, I don't know." And so in February, in partnership or with receiving some funding from IET, we actually had a workshop in February of 2024 with the Sheep Producers Association, as well as with the Federation of Co-ops, with the Department of Agriculture, with the Craft Council, and ourselves to really start talking with the sheep farmers about what are feasible ways we can stop burning wool or sending it to the landfill, and how can we start generating enterprises around wool here in the province. Since our last textile mill, for those of you who don't know, the last textile mill closed in the Colorado Valley in the 1950s. And so there is no local mill for wool to be processed here in province. And so sheep farmers were making the decision between spending a lot of money to send it away to PEI or New Brunswick, or disposing of it. And so we've had really great outcomes. The Sheep Producers Association has received a lot of interest from sheep farmers that are really active in trying to figure out how can they find a solution towards this wool. And part of it was they also just had no idea that craft people would be interested in their wool in the first place. And so really facilitating connections across sectors of the economy is a big part of what we do at EcoNext. And so I've also worked kind of one-on-one with over 30 businesses since I joined in June to try and help them find pathways to funding, help them find pathways towards partnerships, work on developing business plans, help them find waste streams if their business is predicated on waste to try and grow. I've also been working, so I'm very excited to be here because I have met both with the Central Service Board, and I was really fortunate I got to tour their landfill out in Norris Arm in May. It's a really beautiful space with really amazing technology there. And then as well with the Western region in June. So we're really excited to be here and really excited to understand things that are critical for the Eastern Region Service Board, what sorts of problematic waste streams happen here, and what sorts of businesses would you like to see kind of to help divert some of those materials. And so these are just a couple of the businesses that I've been working with that I think have made it to being like a good news story. So they're kind of all the way there. So one would be ASL Energy. So they had created, as my predecessor in partnership with Kieran and with the Ocean Advance, had issued a challenge or issued a question to the aquaculture industry, which is, what is your most problematic source of waste? Anticipating that it would be organic waste. But many of the aquaculture producers said our biggest source of waste is actually all of this plastic. We have all this plastic from all of this pens that just sits, and landfills don't want to take this plastic because it's huge and cumbersome. And so it just sits and sits and sits. And so ASL Energy, and we helped them receive funding through a couple of different organizations and help them work on their applications and business plans. They have purchased an HDPE shredder, which they have it so it's able to be moved across the province as well as outside the province. So they can load it onto a sea can and move it to wherever it needs to go. And they have been working at Norris Arm, shipping all of this plastic. And they then take the plastic and give it to a manufacturer who turns it into mats, which can either be used in rural areas as kind of protection for the forest to kind of make an artificial pavement, or it's being used subsea for offshore installations to protect the seabed. So that's kind of one really great outcome that's come from this project so far.
Audrey,
Yeah.
do they charge for that service? Like,
They do.
yeah,
So their economics are predicated on the fact that it's cheaper for them to dispose of that material than for the companies to do that.
right.
And so the companies are spending about $1 million a year trying to manage all of this waste. And they're able to come in at significantly less cost than that to be able to shred it. Their hope is that they would get enough waste that they would be able to actually start manufacturing the plastic mats here in Newfoundland. Right now, they have to send it over to Slovenia. But their goal would be to open some sort of manufacturing facility here to deal with the chipped plastic. And then another company we've been working with, and a former EcoNext board member, Al Ducey of BMSNA. So they've been doing a ton of work trying to develop wastewater filtration systems using shell waste. So they've been working a lot in the Burin Peninsula to get shells, crush them up, turn them into filtration systems for wastewater. And then the beauty of these as well is they're fully circular. So you would remove these shell filters and they could then be used as fertilizer. So it's not just once, and then eventually it does make its way to the landfill. This would be something that even as it's no longer viable as a filter, then serves a purpose further down the road. And so they're also making it through kind of the technical readiness of this particular technology. And we've helped them again work on their proposals and really refine what it is that their value proposition is. Another great project out in Harbor, Maine is the Harbor Farmstead. So we've worked with them to secure a lot of funding to help them develop this kind of food security within their community. And then a big portion of this, so they have a greenhouse and they have raised garden beds, but a large portion of this as well is their goal is to have organic waste diversion from those particular communities of kind of Harbor, Maine, Avondale.
Another nearby town.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so they have a very large composter that they have purchased that they will then start doing kind of residential pickup from the waste there. And so this is something that can handle bones, it can handle fish waste, it can handle dairy. It is very large industrial in-vessel composter. And what we have helped them do as well to kind of help facilitate their ability to pick up residential organic waste is we've started connecting them with businesses in St. John's that will pay them a fee to take their waste. So our building, 235 Water Street has Eastport Properties has made a contract with them. So they will come and take all the organic waste from the Eastport Properties buildings and bring it to their site in Harbor, Maine.
With an electric Ford 150, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
So by having the commercial partners, that will enable them to be able to start doing residential organic waste pickup much more quickly and at a reduced cost.
So, any idea how many tonnage they're after diverting from the landfill? Are they measured?
Not yet.
No.
They're very slowly starting, but we can make sure that they track it for sure. I know Kim at Eastport would have the numbers for what was happening before because she's pretty committed to composting for a long time.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know how much tonnage they're diverting out of the landfill based on the per capita of that region, so we can see what the the percentage.
And then they also had, I don't know, they had a waste audit done as well in late 2023. So they would also have really good numbers about what their buildings were producing and what areas they could look to try and increase diversion as well. And then last one that I was talking about, Sandy, is I've been working a lot with Home Again. So I don't know if you guys know Amy Tolk of Home Again. So she came to me and said, Audrey, I've been thinking about this a lot, is I unfortunately take a large number of mattresses to Robin Hood Bay because we cannot give people used mattresses. And I've been doing research and mattresses are some of the worst things to ever go to the landfill. And she said, there has to be something better we can do. And so Amy and I have been, and for her, it's a lot harder to get her time. So this is like her third or fourth like side hustle off of Home Again, is to try and figure out how to create a social enterprise for recycling mattresses. And so figuring out, because this happens in pretty much every other jurisdiction in Canada. So it's very common in Quebec and Manitoba, and in Ontario and in Prince Edward Island. They all divert mattresses from the landfill and send them away to be recycled. And so thinking about where we could do that, what sorts of partnerships would need to exist between the landfill, what sorts of equipment would need to be purchased, and working out some of those logistics. Amy and I have been trying to nail that down for kind of the past year. And trying to support her and getting that going. But what's really exciting that we've just kicked off today is our circular economy incubator. So there's an organization out in British Columbia called the Synergy Foundation that since 2019 has been running a circular economy incubator for local businesses in what just initially started as Victoria, but has expanded to kind of both Victoria and Vancouver. is that they have been running this very successfully. And they decided that is also part of their vision. They'd be interested in licensing this to other places in Canada. And so I looked at this with Edmundo Fausto, and we had a lot of chats about this. And we both agreed that this looks like a really amazing program. And so we were very fortunate that the MMSB agreed, and we have went forward with licensing this program. And so Synergy has developed a fulsome, we've received numerous marketing materials, tons of support, but a really fulsome program that we were able to find local experts to kind of complement the themes that they have outlined through there. In addition to being able to receive the materials, we've received a lot of one-on-one support from the foundation to stand up our particular program. They're very open to sharing. They're very here to help us. They want us to succeed and to have a really great program. Another great benefit to people in Newfoundland, Labrador is that they will be able to be connected with people who are in the circular economy outside of just our particular province through this particular program, which is why we thought it was a great tool to license. So overall, they've had 46 ventures go through. They tend to have about 15 ventures on average. But the goal here for us is that we would run this provincially. A great thing that their program does that we also are doing is that this is free. So how we differentiate from a lot of the other incubator programs that exist here in the province is that our program, a lot of them are affiliated with Memorial University. For our particular program, anyone who's got an idea anywhere in this province can join our incubator. It's free. We'll have sessions every 3 weeks that will run from May to December that culminate in a pitch event. And our goal is to really help people or businesses that are established develop their business plan in circular economy. And we don't have the expectation that anyone knows how to make a business plan or what sorts of legal structures they need in place or who they could connect with, that we will help give them that material. We'll have assignments to kind of help them make it through. Each venture will have a business coach, and they'll specify whether they want someone. If someone is savvy in business, they might not want someone who tells them how they need to set things up, but they might have very specific technical questions when it comes to, if I want to use this particular waste stream, how can I do that? Or if I'm going to create this toxic side product and I don't want to do that, what is a different way of manufacturing this good? And so we will, by seeing what they self-assess, the type of mentorship they want, we will match them with whether it's technical expertise or business expertise. Again, we really want to leverage people across the province who are in entrepreneurship, people who have experience with working in our province, especially people who have experience working in business that's affiliated with landfills. And that's why one of our first sessions will just be kind of on design thinking. And we're going to have Edmundo or Shelley, I think they haven't decided yet, come and really talk about, and this would, I think, reflect overall the sentiment for any municipality, that if you want to have a business related to waste, what are the things that you need to do? Like, what are kind of the permits you would need to have? What sorts of insurance would you need to have? It sounds great that you want to reduce waste, but we need to do this in a way that's safe, that's environmentally responsible. And so just kind of having them lay the groundwork for what are things that municipalities will think about or would have the expectation if you're going to be dealing with trash related businesses. And how we can help, and this is something kind of Kieran and I have thought of together, to you guys, to everyone here in the room. So we're here, we'd like to help understand kind of your waste challenges. And again, if there's things that you would like to see, we can try and help kind of prioritize our engagement with our incubator. Right now, this year, because this is the first time we're doing this, we've really left it very open, but we're talking about, the goal would be that this would be annual, that we could have particular challenges with future iterations of this incubator where we would say we're looking for people that are interested in just doing organic waste related businesses. We really want to understand what the landfill has and the service floors and how they can support businesses and what sorts of constraints they would place on any business that is trying to divert materials from the landfill at the landfill. We've been doing a lot of work related to strategic research, and we're going to have a biomass white paper that will come out very shortly, kind of framing how organic waste could be used for energy in our particular province. We also, as Kieran had mentioned, are working a lot with municipalities in climate adaptation and climate mitigation. And then another pot of funding that's available right now from FCM is on organic waste to energy. So if anyone is interested in kind of pursuing in their communities organic waste to energy streams, we're here to kind of help you write those applications and develop those partnerships. And then lastly, so we're also here to work with the service board. So if there are big landfill diversion opportunities you'd like to see, or any ideas you have related towards business and waste reduction, we're here to kind of help facilitate supporting you achieve those goals and finding funding sources that are available provincially and federally for that. And then lastly, our goal as well, in partnership with the MMSB, is to host an international conference here, a national conference, kind of related towards organic waste diversion, whether it's through the Composting Society of Canada or some other major organic waste initiative. But that's what I think.
That's it. Yeah.
So lucky for you guys, you get two FCM board members right there. If you need anything, throw it out. I guess Sheila, go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you. Awesome, exciting news. That's fantastic because I didn't know the depth and the breadth of kind of work that was happening. Of course, I'm the sustainability lead for the city of St. John's, and so Edmundo Fausto is a godsend, and really is finding all kinds of wonderful little avenues to help us along. So that's really interesting because obviously the whole purpose here is economics and about trying to help businesses, but you mentioned people and businesses. And so in amongst people are municipalities. So we're all here as representatives of communities and people and businesses, but we're also municipalities who are making a lot of garbage ourselves. So when I think about the waste that we all, I'm sure, are continuing to push into landfills, organic waste and otherwise, that's where I think, okay, the buck stops with us, how can we improve our practices to ensure? So is there an avenue for us as municipal leaders within our own backyards to help our own systems, aside from obviously setting up the permitting and all of the processes that we need to have in place to support business ideas, right? So because I personally see a lot of waste going out of our municipality that I think could be diverted, could be reused, and so I'd love to start with home, right? So anyway, I just posed that question: have you been dealing with municipalities in that kind of capacity, or is it specifically to people, businesses at this point?
Well, I think Harbor Maine is an interesting example because it is the municipality involved in a solution, but there's a private sector partner who is actually doing the work, if you know what I mean. So I think the best thing a municipality could do, if it isn't prepared to or able to put in solutions itself, is to commit to doing something with its organic waste. And that's kind of step one, because the problem is always volume. So even for the composting unit they have in Harbor Maine, relatively speaking, it is a large piece of technology, and in order for it to operate efficiently, it needs a lot of material,
Right.
Relatively. So they cannot get a lot of material unless they have buy-in from the community. So I think the best thing that municipalities can do is commit to providing and doing what they can to direct the organic waste to someone who's willing to do something with it.
Right.
I don't know, does that make sense? Would you agree?
Because we've been using, in our situation, we've been encouraging people to do backyard composting and all that kind of thing, but that's that brings its own problems. So looking for the next steps, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of energy right now with the federal government, although that's obviously in flux. But I think now is a good time. And I think, again, having this public-private partnership can make things go a lot quicker. People know that there are businesses that are willing to do this. And I think if the businesses know that municipalities would happily supply them with X amount of trash or X amount of organic waste, X amount of coffee lids.
Right.
They would be able to develop business plans and economics that would fit those particular models. And I think part of it is just getting these ideas socialized. I think people, once they start thinking about how do we do circular economy, how do I not send something just to the landfill, how do I give this second life, it will start to happen much more quickly. But I was talking with Synergy Foundation on Tuesday, and they were talking about there's someone who does chopstick recycling, and they actually have factories, like micro factories that turn these chopsticks into like wood panels or things like that. And I was just like, I would never, ever in a million years have thought that that would be something that someone would develop a business case around, right? But they're in a place where there's enough wasted chopsticks that someone thought this is unacceptable. We should do something. No, but I think that's it, right? Is issuing, saying, who's got a solution? You know, EOIs, who's got a solution that would fit with what we've got?
Yeah, can we make the economics work?
Yeah.
I think that's the role that we can play. Is-
So which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, so we're trying to crack that, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, we don't foresee, especially on the organic side, I would not predict that, you know, anyone's ready and willing to invest into a large composting facility for the province right now. But is there a way that some sort of a partnership can make the economics work in some sort of way? Is there enough there for a private enterprise to do it? No, okay, well, are there other business structures like co-ops or et cetera, which I guess you guys are gonna speak a bit to, which is kind of cool. So are there other different ways? And then we'll exhaust all the options, and if we arrive at nil, then we did our best.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hilda will go first, then Tom.
When we talk about landfill, we're talking about land issues, but in the rural communities, which is, I think we're 50-50 with the municipalities and non-municipalities. But one of the big things that I see for recycling that is not being addressed is the fish nets, the nylon fish nets. I think that the fishermen should be encouraged to sell it, to be able to sell it to someone, because there's so much of this being dumped in the ocean. But this way, their grandfather's nets is not rotted yet. So is there some way that you can have a pot of money where you can buy these fish nets back? Because that's the only way they're going to bring them in off the water. And if they could buy back the nets and probably set someone up to do fence pounding, right? To give to the community, to have a community garden fencing, because that is a big issue. And I don't know, even at the landfills, it's a lot of plastic you hauled out of the water, a lot.
ASL had talked about kind of once they had made it through all of the HDPE feedstock, that they would start to look into other sources of plastic. And because I've been working a lot with the agriculture sector, another source of plastic that's very common all across the province that unfortunately winds up burned frequently is like the silage wrap on all of the bales, right? And that
Yes.
doesn't go away. Cows need hay, they're gonna need hay year round, and this dairy is growing. There's gonna be more and more of that, and so trying to figure out solutions. In other provinces, there are things like issuing certificates of disposal. So someone would then give a fisherman, for example, a piece of paper that said, you bought, you know, or as someone purchases nylon nets, I've bought 10 nets,
Basically.
and then I
Where is it?
account for that back when you would give that back to me. And so whether that's a deposit.
Absolutely need that. There's a terrible amount of going to the landfills. Must not go into landfills in the ocean.
Yeah.
And we've all seen the issues concerning it, so it's something that needs to be addressed.
Very good point, Taylor. Jason and I have had this conversation many times. Tom?
Well, thank you both for coming out. Just a couple of comments. Just for a lot of people who are not aware of how bad mattresses are.
Yes.
That's something I've gone down that rabbit hole. If they don't compress,
No, they're the worst. I've seen the at the central landfill and pushing them around.
And then also, they actually absorb all the toxins, and then they become like, then they leach it out, so in landfills where they plant grass over, you'll actually see where mattresses are. So, and then springs also will come up and they can damage vehicles and stuff, so it's really bad. When you really think about it, everybody has a bed, everybody has a mattress. Children's mattresses get thrown away, you know, if the average mattress lasts 20 years, there's 530,000 people. Just think about how many mattresses end up in.
And Shelley had the Robin Hood Bay staff survey for us, and so like for the month of November, they counted mattresses, and it would be over 200 mattresses a week were going to Robin Hood Bay. And that's November, so I imagine there's probably more at other times of the year, and this is something too that could be done in concert. And that's what Amy and I were chatting about, just with the numbers, like, could you make this so this would be like a program across all of the service boards, that as long as they were able to kind of dedicate the space and collect them at all the service boards, that maybe once a quarter, they'd all get picked up and kind of processed somewhere together. But yeah, no, it's a lot.
Well, yeah, the other comment I'll make is the organic waste. So, you know, I don't know how municipalities deal with it. I've been to the harbor main. Now, when I was there, it didn't seem like it was actually had been started yet, and that was in the fall. So I'm not sure if they actually started processing that, you know.
They're very close. I believe they're gonna start picking up in March.
So, you know, a lot of times, like, the backyard composting is really good if people use it.
Yeah.
You know, like we do, and
Yeah, we don't do that.
but there's challenges with that.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking in terms of municipalities having, like, if you go to Europe, say Portugal, for example, they'll have like a central location, like a town square, where they do like recycling and organics and stuff. And I wonder if maybe municipalities could consider in neighborhoods or wherever, having places where people can bring it, and then a company could come and
Take it away. But yeah, that's what I am from the United States. For many years, lived in Houston, Texas. And there are just like neighborhood drop-offs for all your recyclables, right? You would drive around the corner and there are sea cans in a random parking lot somewhere where you go separate all your glass and you throw your cans in your boxes, and the same thing with organic waste as well. Yeah.
I just want to encourage it. Like, it's great to hear. I mean, I didn't know you guys did, so it's great to hear.
They'll be stealing our sea cans. Any questions? We'll wrap this one up because I know we got another presenter here and some really good information. At supper, Kieran and I were chatting away there, and I think the big ask of all of us, and I know a lot of us are late in our mandates, and there's an election coming, and most of you will be running again, hopefully, and will get re-elected, is he needs connections with municipalities. That, you know, he can pick up the phone and call somebody and say, who do I speak to about this, or who's the next door neighbor? So, you know, you obviously can filter it through us, and then we can reach out to our board members here and people who aren't board members, so LSDs or whatever it is. So if you need connections, there are people, anybody here on M&L? Danny, I know you were. Anybody else on M&L board? Yeah. So we can go through M&L for whatever outside of our region, and FCM is represented here by two. And everybody else in this room knows somebody on one of the other councils somewhere. So if we can help you whatever way we can, reach out to us and we'll find a way to get the door open for you or whatever it is you need though.
Great, thanks so much. And thanks for your time. Really appreciate the opportunity to come here and have a chat.
Yeah, and we'd say likewise, if you need anything related to, no? Okay.
Kieran's home phone number is. Call him anytime.
He likes 2 a.m. calls.
He loves it. Well, thank you. We'll move on to our next presenters. As soon as I get my thing back on in there. Oh, sorry. Zoom meeting book. It's shut down here. Up next is Newfound Sand. We got Dave Saunders and Amanda Blackwood. Dave is the president and co-founder. Amanda is our board of directors representative. And with that, we'll give you guys the floor and go ahead and present. And,
thank you.
Again, same rules. Any questions, we'll interrupt you.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have we got a PowerPoint? Could you put that?
PowerPoint?
Get a PowerPoint?
PDF?
PDF?
That's what I sent you an email today.
I thought it was good. Okay.
Okay.
We'll try to find it.
Yeah. While that's happening,
And again, we'll send it to the board anyway.
Yeah. So quick question for you. Who here has seen us on TV? Okay, so you guys know how much I love mustard pickles. Right, like I really, really, really love mustard pickles. So the question that we always start with asking you guys is when you're done with your mustard pickles, what do you do with the pickle jar?
We're
In the
using,
garbage.
use it again.
You use it again? Okay. What? If your partner gets mad, you got it under a couple of feet, there's like a million of them.
She uses ours really well.
Oh, you must be from Merlin's fault. Yeah, so for the people here that don't reuse or get the level, the only thing that you can do is throw it in the garbage. We're actually the only province in Canada that doesn't have a recycling program for household lots. There's a number of reasons for that. But what we realized, it's sand. You want to pass that around, just kind of take a look at it. So once we realized it's sand, we kind of just started kind of rethinking things, right? So if it's sand, why would we waste a resource that can be sand? So this all came about as a very simple idea. Let's turn it back into sand. Let's call it Newfound sand because Newfoundland and Labradorians love any play off the name of Newfoundland. And this plays really, really well with Newfound sand. So we established this company. What we're trying in 3 different phases. Some of you have seen our collection events. I know Sheila's been very confident. We're doing them at the farmers market right now, and it's just basically a way to raise awareness and build members. The other thing that's really helped us, actually, the city of Mount Pearl recycled some of their household bin stores. We filled them up probably in the first 3 hours. Right, 130 people for the second event, and 2 events total. We're looking at Charles, this one's for you. It's about a metric ton that we've recycled so far. Which if you work it out, that's about 4,400 glass jars. That's just on 2 collection events. So there is a lot of glass out there. Once we move from our launch phase, we're going to move into phase 1, which is business partnerships. And then phase 2 and 3, what we'd be looking to do is once we get a fit facility established with the right equipment, we would then engage the green depots across the province. And hopefully use them as collection events, collection points. So we could leverage existing infrastructure to get all the glass that's already coming into Mount Pearl and processed through here. One of the biggest things that we're working with right now, you guys see that sand? Anybody here golf? Danny, I know you golf. You just got that look.
Terrible. Not very good.
Yeah. You're like me, you spend all your time in the bunker, right? So if you spend your time in the bunker, you know how terrible the bunkers are in the golf courses here, right? One of the best types of sand is actually glass sand. And that's because of the angular nature of what it is, and it filters really well. So we've actually engaged Glendenning and the Willows. This just happened the other day. So they're super interested in what we have. They also are well aware of what's happening in the Bermuda. So in the Bermuda, all the golf courses there use recycled glass in their bunkers. Right now it's brought in their premium. So that's going to be one of the markets that we're looking at. We're also in conversations with a couple of local companies for asphalt and to use it as an additive in salt. So those end markets are being built kind of as we speak. An interesting development too is we think we have potentially a line on a facility in Mount Pearl and a waste management company that would partner with us to be able to help collection events around the city. We'll start there and we can build out. Gotta give you guys a shout out. We just became members of them. And I know you talked about ASL Energy. One of the owners of ASL Energy is actually vice president on our board of directors. We have a board of 9 that are much smarter than what I am. So they add a whole level of credibility to us. We're mainly here today, and I'm bouncing all over the place because of the PowerPoint. But we're mainly up here today to talk about our corporate sponsorship program that we're plugging, and you do that with PowerPoint. You don't need to.
Dave, I got 2 questions. How many bottles were being there? Like how much was crushed to make that?
How much? Well, that's a really good question.
Would that be like 2 bottles, 5 bottles?
How heavy you figure that is, Charles? Couple pounds, maybe?
It's
About a pound? Okay. So in 1 glass jar, it's about half a pound.
Oh.
The second part is, So if you're using that in a golf trap somewhere as a replacement for sand, and it's, Newfoundland is known for being windy days. If that stuff blows, like if you get sand in your eye, you get sand in your eye, it hurts for a bit. What happens if you get that in your eye?
Think that
I say it doesn't cut, there's no,
it was sand before, but so
Yeah.
that's actually one of the, thank you, because that's actually one of the big things that we see, is the first reaction, it's glass, it's gonna cut.
that's why I thought.
No, it's not, it's kid friendly.
Okay.
That is like Miami Beach sand.
Right,
You can put your hands in it and play with it. One of the company that we actually have the equipment sourced from, they're called Andela Products. They've been doing this for 30+ years.
Yeah.
Right? They can show you videos of kids playing in the mountain glass, right? It's the way that it goes through the equipment that it turns it back into the sand that it once was.
so could you lose it on like a playground? Like,
Yeah.
and if a kid puts it in their mouth, like I'm thinking, someone Sandy's age or something like.
Yeah, it's inert. It's inert. I mean, like, I really do love zesty mustard pickles, so
Yeah.
it's like I thought about it a couple of times. But yeah, no, it was sand.
Yeah.
And it turns back into sand.
Okay,
The other really interesting thing, because when people think sand, they think silicosis, they think that legislation and all that kind of thing. The MSDS, and this has been settled for a while, there's a different chemical composition of this. So we went through, the Department of Environment, we did a self-referral through the assessment there. We've gone through Service NL as well with their OHS people. The silicosis legislation does not apply to this because it's a different chemical composition. It is still a nuisance dust when you see it, because the collection event is dusty and that kind of thing. But it doesn't stick to your lungs in the same way, right? So it's just a nuisance. Which really helps us when we go to build a facility and that kind of stuff, right, for dust generation. The other thing with the dust generation is it is actually a fine product, so it's not a waste. If we can capture the dust, we can actually develop a high-end product with it, which is super interesting.
So you sell the sand at the end, is that how that
Yeah.
works?
Yeah.
So it's dropped off for free and then you sell it, so.
Right now, it's dropped off for free. But what we have to pivot to, because we just got overwhelmed, is that only members will be able to drop it to us at our next events or by donation, because we are a cooperative, but we're all volunteers, and at some point we need to make money. So that's what we're pivoting to, but eventually, and this is a question to pose to this entire group, because if we scale up, Nova Scotia right now prohibits glass in landfill. If it prohibits glass in landfill, that means everybody brings it to us, we charge them a tipping. And we would charge a tipping fee less than what the city of St. John's charges tipping fee for the thing. So to your point, if you guys can direct the glass to us, that solves a lot of our problems too. In one of our early conversations with Christie, he came up with a really great idea, and that is bulk garbage day. So once we scale to a certain level, semi-annually, we could have something at bulk garbage day where we work together in what that collection looks like when it comes to this. I'm sorry.
so City of St. John's councillors, would you consider that to be recyclable materials and tip it at that rate? Is that what we would think? So right now we tip garbage at.
Oh, that rate.
1975.
So would you tip it at a recyclable rate?
It depends what way you're gonna get it, right? Like if you've got people dropping it off, if down in
Yeah.
residential drop off, you got a bin for glass.
Yeah.
And the glass gets thrown in there, then that's been free.
Right.
But if people put it in garbage bags, it's gonna end up into the landfill failure. We're not gonna be able to accept this.
No.
Yeah, sorry, so the only way is really a drop off bin
And
that's
to
available.
the mayor's point here, because we looked at curbside. Right? And curbside is a great thing, but unless you're gonna get a 3-bay trough, and you're gonna get the collection, even in Metro in St. John's, you might get one of those Rubbermaid buckets a month, right? They've done it in BC and places like that, but the other thing with BC, and if you get one of these Rubbermaid recycling things, what does that become on like a 20-kilometer day? That becomes a missile that nobody. So one of the better models that we've seen actually from BC, and I think you guys expanded on this too with the C-cans, they call it Express It. So they have these C-cans that are in garbage in grocery stores that have different sections in them and compartments that you can put recycling, you can put glass, you can put that kind of thing. So once we get to a certain level, we get to our subscriptions, we get to a facility that's in place, and we start selling the glass and collecting, and those will be models that we will explore with waste management companies that are local. Challenge is always gonna be rural, same thing. My buddy Carl, their glass garage is in Clark's Beach, my friend. You ever wanna come by?
Excuse me,
Oh, I'm sorry.
they have a place in Blaketown where they drop off glass and bottles. And I've been in there and they've got containers there full. One is full of green glass, one is brown glass, and one is clear glass. And it's from the liquor board and they just drop them in, they break up, they don't care, as long as it's white, green and yellow. So to have them, even to put a price on, like, to deliver to you, say 2 cents for 3 cents per bottle. It's still cheaper than you having to go get it. And I tell you why, because in small communities, what they do is the cadets, they say everybody drop off their bottles until when they get a big load, they'll take it all down to the center. And if they could do that and just drop off one big load to you, or even like I said, if you could avail us of that, the glass that they're already collecting.
Yeah, so with that, they're sorting it like that, but is it a Green Depot?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, they have lots of glass.
they do, and so the current model now, and Charles jump in if I get this wrong, but the current model right now is that if there's a deposit on your glass, so if it's a wine bottle or a beverage container, that's
Yeah.
glass, you bring it to a Green Depot and you'll get refunded, and then the Green Depots get paid based on that.
Yes,
What happens then is the Green Depot takes it and it goes into Herbert's in Mount Pearl. Herbert's then puts it basically on a conveyor, it gets broken for size and volume reduction, and then it gets shipped to the recycler in New Brunswick. So long-term, once we get established, what we would look at doing is basically saying you don't need to ship it.
yes, give it to me.
Similar to the rubber tires.
It's similar to the rubber tires, and
That's great.
once we expand on our model and we make the business sense, which these guys are really gonna help us with. They're really good at what they do. I'm not just saying that, they actually are. But once we do that, we can then, because glass is a minimal amount, right? By comparison, it is 2%, right? Well, people are hoarding it, so it's probably more like 2.5%. But the minimal helps us too, because it means it's a minimal amount that's also going to the Green Depots across the province, right? So it's insignificant when it goes into the Green Depot, so you just say we take it off. There's still a bit to work out there with the funding model, but long-term strategy, because of the infrastructure in place that the MMSB has done a phenomenal job of setting up, this can work. We just need $650,000 a year. Can you give us that?
So just on this, is there, like, that's, I feel like I'm on Dragon's Den now.
Yeah. People told me to go there.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
"No,
right.
we're a co-op, man."
So that, I guess what we're getting to there is your cost of operations of 600. Is there a supply of glass there that can produce at that rate and that cost enough to offset the cost? So I guess I would like, what kind of volume of glass do you need to produce enough product that will be able to get you to that part?
Yeah,
That's just a curiosity as I was
So-
looking at that.
What does MMSD spend a year? Better question. What do you spend a year getting glass, processing and sending away? Like, what does that cost?
I'll find that, my good point.
Because that's a good starting point.
yeah. So if we're just gonna use MMSB numbers, right? Which is about 4,000 metric tons a year. Yeah. So if you use 4,000 metric tons a year, and let's just say ballpark that we sell it as a sand replacement for $60 to $70 a metric ton, right? That's halfway there. We collect it for $60 to $70 a metric ton. We're full weight. The other thing are 650,000 that we're saying that will be 8 jobs locally, but we'd also look at the evergreen model. Because these jobs are, they're not technical in nature. It's putting glass into a piece of equipment, or it's moving something like that. So we can use all different types of funding programs that are out there, like what everybody does, to be able to subsidize.
I was just interested in the supply part of it, because it's easy to look at the amount that you can produce and where you can sell it and the amount you're getting for it. But it's the amount that goes into making the supply. I think this kind of got me curious how that works.
And the other interesting piece on this too, because we've had conversations with Kento Windows and Fast Glass in Bay Roberts, if you're familiar with them. So they do window panes, for example, they do cut glass. Some of them do, windshields in cars. Now, we can't take the windshields in cars, it's a different thing, but the window panes, the, Kentos out there, the breweries that are out there.
Yeah.
There's a sizable amount of commercial glass
Right.
that is currently going to the landfill that hasn't been captured, and the commercial glass actually eclipses the,
That's a good point.
current glass that comes in. So we can leverage businesses that we can actually collect on that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The best way to kind of explain it, like my good buddy Mitch, who's, he's on the board of directors. The guy that I annoyed the crap out of, he told me, like, just do it, Dave. If we can't make money on the back end, we gotta make it before we get it. So right now, that's where the cooperative model comes in, because we engage our members, we get our businesses, we do our corporate sponsorships to get that investment, to begin with. But then after that, we get money on the collection, and then we also get money on the, end market, right?
So when you're producing, just one last question, because I'm really curious about the way that this is done. Is there any, so your inputs are your electricity and your equipment, right, to get this pulverized, I guess, to that point? Is there any use of anything else that goes into that, like water or any type
Yeah,
of
so
major input?
water, yes, but it's only a misting system just to compress the gas.
Okay, so it's not a,
No, it's
No.
just a misting system, but it is literally as simple, we can take this full jar.
Yeah.
Throw it into the equipment, it'll take the labels, put it on one side, take the cap, put it on another side, and give us the same. 99% pure, once it comes out.
good.
But it
Yeah.
smells like pickles.
But it smells like pickles, yeah.
I can't get the lid out.
Don't-
It's at home.
Don't come around on pickle day, so you're gonna see me there.
Yeah.
A reduction in tip fees alone from, I'll say Exception Bay South, Mount Pearl Paradise, I mean, if you divert the glass into a different bin, from it alone, your tip fees would be enough to cover their expenses, really.
Yeah.
It's just two
Because you can either pay it to the city of St. John's, or you can pay it to.
Because you said 2% wasn't significant, 2% of all the waste is a lot. I mean, we're not talking about 2% of what MMSD gets, you're talking about 2% of all waste.
Yeah.
Can you alter the size of the sand? Like, I'm thinking how much Paradise is paying for sand for the volleyball.
Yes, could have done that.
We could have 100%.
Go there.
Yeah, well, hold on.
They're fussy. Yeah, hang on.
Step back just a quick second to throw the guys, we can take this and develop 5 different products for them if we sift it out. But we have to go through Volleyball Canada and make sure that it meets their high-end specifications and all that kind of stuff. Just like if we're using it in asphalt or whatever, we'd have to go through transportation infrastructure and city spec. But what I can tell you is, you ever been to Corner Brook? They already did this in Corner Brook. They did a pilot in 2018. The problem is they used a blue grain hammer mill versus the equipment that we're looking at that doesn't store contaminants. But they put it in the sidewalk and they put it in asphalt. And then it went through the municipal spec process. We got the full report and everything like that. Well, if you seen it, you'd be like, well, there's probably a reason, because they're wearing like these hazmat suits and all this kind of stuff. But the reason why they got the hammer mill that they got is basically limited funding, right? But the reason why ours will work, aside from Amanda being able to sell us in a way and make us look really good, is that the equipment that we're using has been established for 30+ years, right? It's being used in Disney World, for crying out loud, right? They got it down. It's just a matter of getting it here, and operating, and we can do that too.
One other thing, I know at the Green Depot, they pay like 3 cents for a Pepsi can, but it's 10 cents for a bottle. And that's probably because of the shipping costs where it's heavy. So that should be an advantage to you to pitch.
Yeah.
For your glass, or.
Yeah.
It'd be an advantage to Charles, wouldn't it, just not have to ship glass off.
Yeah.
Who pays for that now?
I do.
You do.
Yeah,
$250,000
there you go. There you go, see?
There's half your money right there.
Yeah. See,
And a technical reduction in carbon emissions. But guys, again, perspective here, right?
Yeah.
Right now, we don't have equipment. We get the equipment in play and we get the end markets agreed to that we can, like. Glass is recycled through the Green Depot is very effective hitting this problem, right? It is, even though it's shipped off.
Yeah.
We're just saying that we can build a cooperative, and we can have jobs, and we can do that locally.
And we can do it here.
Yeah.
Sheila,
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. A huge fan of this project, as you know, because we've had
Yeah.
many discussions along the way. And so I guess and of course, trying to bridge the gap with, you know, this, the city employees and all the rest. Yes, 2%, as Thomas mentioned, but you know what? You know, this is it, right? We have to do incremental, all of these things, which all add up to a bigger piece of the pie. So fantastic. And it's also good to know, you know, a little bit more background about MMSB as well, about, you know, how it's been functioning, because I don't think really a lot of people know that either. But my question, I guess, is about the co-op model. And, you know, full disclosure, I'm a huge fan of cooperative models. Federation of Newfoundland Cooperatives, I know, if you know, which you're a member. So why did you opt to go for a cooperative model?
Really good question. So one of the co-founders, her name's Faith Gates. She's diehard co-op, and this actually came as a result of a meeting with a major industry player. They took us to their board of directors, and we were going to do subscription service at that point. But their board of directors, the feedback came back, and what they said was that, well, what's to stop somebody from paying 1 month and not paying again? So really what you're talking about is memberships.
Right.
And then as we explored memberships, we realized, well, the cooperative model really fits this bill. They did an incredible job in FOCO, right? And that there's enough sentiment out there that people would want to be part of it. The other thing is the cooperative community is actually really, really, really good. It is, like, people live and breathe co-ops, and they like that they're members. There are governance challenges like everything else. But the biggest selling feature is the fact that the community owns it, right? So I own it, Amanda owns it. Anybody else here a member? No? Well, that's my challenge to you. Go just pay $50, guys. Come on, help us out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like you join, you own it just as much as what we do, right? So because the community owns it, the community directs it.
Awesome. Thank you.
So you gotta work with Charles now, you have to get the glass out him.
Thanks to Christian.
Use his letter to get your money.
any other questions, Bill? Go ahead.
Thanks to Christian to bring this forward, because I didn't know about this glass recycling. And you know, I know it's in my program, I'm fully on board. The $5,000, is that just one collection, or would you collect that once a month? Is that, how's that work?
So our sponsorship package right now will be annually. So for 1 year, we consider you a sponsor, whatever tier you come in at. So $5,000 there, we offer like the social promotions in our e-news. And you know, we're open to adapting this right now as well. If there's ideas for other ways to engage businesses, you know, maybe someone doesn't have the funding to commit to us, but maybe they have a space where they could offer a collection point. You know, however we're able to engage people, it's really about letting the community be a part of it. So with the different sponsorship tiers there, it's just meant to kind of pay back to them as well.
I know in the city, we're always getting calls, how come we can't recycle glass?
Yeah.
It's a big thing, I mean, all the time, we're always getting these calls, so I'm fully on board. And we're on top of it in our city, because, you know, I think it'll save us on tipping fees, if we just try and see what it is.
Absolutely.
But just the optics of recycling glass, instead of taking it to the landfill, is a good thing, it's a good news story too.
You think they can
You
do
certainly hear
it
from most
better?
Do you guys know, well, we know, but do you know how much sand you're using in your softball fields annually?
I was thinking.
About 200 to 300 metric tons, right? So we could actually use the sand replacement for that.
So would we give you a glass, we buy the sand back, is that how that works?
Well, I mean, it kind of, we can talk about that.
Vitamin, Bill?
Depends on how much you get.
It will be.
Yeah, but like, bring us in, because we can talk about how maybe we can be a service provider and provide mutual benefit to the.
Jim Locke said, like,
Yeah, Jim's a good people.
It's really interesting. What is this like when it gets wet? Does it retain water or does it water?
It's better than sand.
Is that?
Yeah, so the filtration medias that you guys were talking about, it's called two-way sand.
Yeah.
That is in water filtration. This is actually a superior product to that, with nitrogen and that kind of thing. But you'd have to refine it more. So the issue with the high value end markets is that you need to basically make sure it's clean. You need to make sure that any alcohol, sugars, that kind of stuff is out of it. But you basically need to bake it before it goes in, right? Which adds an extra process. So eventually, like we've got a PhD process engineer on our board of directors that's chomping at the bit to do a whole bunch of things. But what we're trying to do right now before we build those markets is if we can just wholesale this as asphalt right out at $50 a metric ton, and we can get it up, we can build those high-end end markets in the future. And we can continually show value to the communities, right? Another thing you could do is you could actually put a beach around Mundy Pond, just saying.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry.
Is that perfect? If you've got a community that's got coastal erosion problems and you need to build a beach up, this is used frequently, like in Louisiana, to build up land as recycled glass, because it's cheaper than dredging sand from offshore and bringing it there. So when you've got.
There you go, Gerard.
it's already-
no, better.
It's interesting because
Awesome.
the group that's doing research into asphalt at the university. A joint project between the city and the London Engineering Firm about looking at different makeups of
Mixtures.
into asphalt. It'll be an interesting discussion that happen.
Again, if you wanna come through us, we can set you up for a meeting. and
Yeah.
go there. It's easier that way.
Sorry, yeah.
There.
Any other questions? Because we have to move on. Obviously, we got another thing. Are you guys finished? You got anything
Yeah.
else? No,
I mean, the corporate sponsorship program is gonna be sent out there, so, you know.
we've got a motion on the table, like sponsor something there, I think, so.
Okay.
Councilor Hickman will read that out later on.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for your listening to me about pickles.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay and listen to the rest of the meeting or something. If you want to bail now, you can go right ahead. You got the board has to go before they go. See you later, guys. Thank you very much for coming in. Thanks.
We have so much.
Actually, I'm.
All right, we'll get back to the meeting, folks. We'll get back to our regular meeting. So review of the minutes, be resolved that the minutes from January 29th, 2025 be adopted as tabled. So moved, second by Hilda. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Committee reports, Councillor Hickman from the City of St. John's, Finance and Audit Committee, you're on the floor.
A brief 6-page report here. Let's get through the best we can. 4A1, board expenditure report, check register payroll. There for the month of January. And we're there for you to see. We discussed making a concerted effort to ensure any purchase made going forward for local Canadian companies were about. No issues or concerns. Any questions for staff?
The only thing I would say, Sandy, is following the lead from the City of St. John's and Sheila.
You make a motion.
You can do that, but what I would like to add into that, if everybody's okay, is that we as a regional service board come off of X.
Here,
Well, it's a cesspool anyway.
Yeah,
It'll serve us well in the long run. We'll use our voice alert. We'll ramp up how we get that message out to the municipalities going forward. And that, again, we adopt the same sort of philosophy that Susie just taken. So
Well, I guess Facebook will be next.
we're not on Facebook anymore. So we're already beat on that. Go ahead. Sorry, guys, Sandy.
I'll make the motion to be resolved, the board adopt the expenditures for the month of January 2025 as tabled.
Move by Councilor Hickman, second. Bill, all those in favor?
Aye. 42 incorporated towns payment activity report dated February 10th. And it's still a bit early in the year, so some of the towns may have their payments on the way. Any questions for staff?
Very aggressive over there.
A3. Unaudited financial statement. So there's materials there for you.
The audit financial statements, we are there. Sorry, unaudited financial statements are there. And Greg tells us the audit will be done next month. We'll have a copy of that sent out.
oh, yeah, they'll be tabled actually, for the board's adoption. Yeah.
Any questions, anyone? All there for you. Okay. Point 4, asset management plan, an update. We're updated on this plan and perhaps we should have an update from staff on this now.
I've met with our IT consultant and with our manager of fleet and facilities, and we've gone through some different things for both the trucks and then the computer equipment and some of the furniture and things like that. So just coming up with some policies now, what we have, and we have everything identified. It's just a matter now of coming up with some replacement policies and with some couple different things around the assets. So we're getting all that down and we're going to put it all together in the report.
Questions, anyone?
I just want to, sorry, I wanted to go back to the budget. Why are we on that, like mostly under budget on most items? Are we overestimating or is there something, it seems like the vast majority of things were like, 80% under budget. Is there a reason that I mean, it's great. I'm not complaining. I'm just wondering.
One in particular?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Well, I'm just looking at most things, really, like most things and overall in total. Obviously the chair members remuneration were under, like, anything to do with employment, we're under.
So with the
Transportation, we're under, or this is for the whole year, right? I mean,
This is for Q4, so it's just, that's the internal. Yeah.
That's only just Q4.
Yeah, no, that's the whole year. So
That's what I thought, yeah.
So as at December 31st. So if you start at the top, what you end up having, you have your salaries, and so salaries lead into benefits. So the two of those go hand in hand. The issue with the budget used is that if we have the budget that open positions paid at the highest step. So the positions that were open, we had them at the beginning of the year, we budgeted for them. And so that's why in some cases, like salaries for regional waste operations, they were down to 72 because we actually had a couple of drivers positions that weren't filled all year. We had one or two drivers that were sick. Corporate administration, we had at least two positions. We had one filled half the year. We had one full position not filled. So that's why there's a difference there. So because you don't have that position filled, then your CPP, your EI, your health and life benefits and RSP are not going to hit to the 100. Well, with the exception of health and life, which we'll get to soon. So and then the rest of things like January of last year kind of threw us for a loop with what happened, and then what ended up, and then because of that, and because we knew that we had so much expense up front on some of these contracts, then we kind of not put the brakes on some spending, but we kind of put the brakes on some spending.
Yes.
So we got a little more frugal than we had in the past because we wanted to watch, make sure that we knew, like, if you look at your waste collections contracts expense, it was over 200% of what it's supposed to be. So we knew that was going to happen. So what we ended up doing was making sure that we didn't blow the budget completely in other areas. So if that meant that we didn't use any furniture, then we didn't use any furniture. If that meant we didn't, a couple of things there, like vehicle maintenance operations. That was low, it was usually high, but we had one full truck that didn't sit, that the engine blew, and we had that sitting in the parking lot. So there's a couple of things like that, but yeah, so there's a couple of different reasons why you don't get to 100% on most of those. It is sometimes you're over budgeting a little bit, but other times it's circumstance. And in this particular year, I think a lot of it was circumstance, but then it was kind of sound management policies.
Will that be adjusted? Like, are you gonna reduce your estimates for this year going forward?
2025 was an interesting to try to budget because we also had we moved it from 200 to 225. And then what we also have coming is the bulk we separated from the contract expense. And then we know that that's going to be a huge expense now too. So that's going to be.
Three contracts up for renewal this year, and the three large ones, like the Southern Shore, Isthmus area. Trinity Bay South Center will be up for.
You'll probably see it settle back down in 2026.
Yeah.
If I was to.
Salary wise and benefit wise, we got rid of those empty positions so that those should be much closer to what they're supposed to be in 2026, in 2025, because we didn't want to over budget there. We might have touched, had a touch over budget for the equipment, only because it's such a large expense, but also because it's getting older. So we're gonna get to a point, or in the meeting now soon, we're talking about 2 extra trucks and 2 extra trailers. So like those are huge expenses that are coming. But right now, you're on a thin line that you're putting so much into these trailers that it's getting to the point now, it's just a matter, it's almost just a little buy one.
It's like having an old car, Tom, that you fix it up all the time, and then at some point in time, you get a new car. That's where we are.
That's where we are with a couple pieces with it.
I just signed a check for a minute ago for $50,000 for repairs on one of the vehicles. So it's, yeah. It's gonna be expensive. Anyway, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
All right,
Carry on.
back to the future asset management plan. Everybody happy with that quick update? Things are going along well and short credit keeps update. Now, the big one to look at today is employee group benefits renewal. And you can see a bunch of information there, and of course, your package.
Excuse me, I'm declaring conflict.
Okay.
And then we'll leave.
Associated
with the
Okay. Yeah, so that was Jenkins answer. Mr. Bill Jenkins was in to talk to us about this and put together a few proposals and recommended some changes. Partly would make the benefits more affordable for the board and employees, but improve the overall package as well. So one recommended change was discontinuation of short-term disability benefit, which will provide a portion of the employee's salary for 78 weeks if off for illness. It was noted the employment insurance sick benefits will provide a portion of the employee's salary for 26 weeks after a 1-week waiting period for employees who were off work for an extended period due to illness. So it was recommended the board remove the critical illness benefit, as it is expensive and the cost of maintaining this benefit is increasing by 50%. If any employee wants to have this kind of coverage, they may choose to do so privately through their identified Blue Cross app. So Jenkins' answer reported that most of their clients no longer provide short-term disability or critical illness benefits due to excessive costs. So in place of that, we recommend the board increase the life insurance benefit for all employees. So it sort of matches out a little bit, equals out. Change the result in a coverage equal to employee's salary for 1 year as opposed to the current 25,000. So that is the big change that we're recommending. There will be no changes to medical, dental, accident, long-term disability or employee and family assistance program benefits. Sorry. The group benefits were discussed in detail. We really agreed to recommend the board adopt alternative 1 and 2 monthly rate summary. So I'll make a motion before discussion be resolved that the board renew the provision of group benefits through Jenkins Anthony for Medified Blue Cross in line with the alternate 1 and 2 rate summary effective April 1st, 2025 at the monthly rate of $79.75 43 cents.
Moved by Councillor Hickman, second by Councillor Bill Lentil, and any discussion on that, Tom?
Yeah, I know there was 2 options. I'm just curious why there wouldn't be the option of removing the critical illness and not changing the life insurance. Was that for the benefit of employees, like as an accommodation? Is that the logic?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
To maintain the critical illness, that the premiums were going up 50% this year. And the critical illness benefit is very prescriptive. I think there were 6 very critical illnesses, that's it. The insurer, recommended actually that we up the life insurance for employees, because all of us, regardless of salary, have $25,000 base package, that's it through this, benefits. So they suggested that we go to one-time salary, so whatever an employee's annual salary is, that's life insurance payout. Drop the critical illness due to the cost. The weekly indemnity or short-term disability, apparently most employers don't have that, and we had that. And we worked hard to put it in place for employees before we put long-term disability in place, or before we had that program. But with the long-term disability and the current EI package for sick benefits, which actually gives them more than what our short-term disability would, we think that that's a very, maintain the long-term, not touch medical, dental, nothing's being changed there. Accident, dependent life all stays the same. So there's those two changes. And we think it makes it more affordable for all of us because it's 50-50 cost share with the employees.
For that financial impact, too, if I remember correctly, I think.
Yeah.
We had left the same, I think it's gonna go up by 20%, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
This year it's only going up by 6%, so it's better for the employees, and you can still buy critical care if you want themselves.
If they really want to, apparently as an individual, they can get it through them, yeah.
For benefit of the rest of the board, the committee did meet with the, Mr. Jacobs, and it was really, we went through some very, Ron was there,
There was really not much doubt which way we had to go.
Yeah,
That's what we
he
do.
did a really good presentation. I was pleased with it, and again, at the end of it, it was clear that what was best for our employees and best for the company was the, which was the story in that.
I think it's win-win there.
If you want more information, just contact Ellen, right, or myself.
I was just curious.
No, we'd be happy to give it to you, if you want more.
That's important if you guys are happy in it.
Yeah.
Budgets, all yeah.
The committee says
All those in favor? Contrary?
46. Now, you consent.
Counselor, before you go ahead with that, that donation request, myself and the president of Live on Sand work together.
That would be helpful. I don't think people.
No, that would be.
You have no financial gain on it.
No.
That's an opinion. You know.
Unless you're his employer.
No.
You are, no. I guess, everybody okay?
I guess free sand for the sandbox. Briefing materials are there for this, and we had a presentation, briefly touched on it. So the committee reviewed the information, and we're certainly pleased with what they're up to, and supporting this kind of waste diversion. Because it's in line with our mandate, of course. So we felt that we should recommend the board proceed with the growth level sponsorship, and that Newfoundland Sand would be invited to the meeting, as they were. So my motion is be resolved, the board provide a one-year growth sponsor of Newfoundland Sand at the cost of $1,000.
Moved by Councilor Hickman, second by Mr. Roos. Any discussion? Yeah.
Why do we, like, you mentioned, Bill, that Mount Pearl went in at 5,000?
No, we're gonna ask for it, it's come to our committee next week.
Okay, what's the difference? 1,000 seems pretty small amount.
Yeah.
What's the difference in 1, 2, 3?
That's what I'm gonna ask, when he comes in next week, like, what do we get out of $5,000? If I can get a couple of collections for it's worth more.
It is.
It's in the meeting.
Is it?
Yeah.
What we could, it's all there in your meeting.
Yeah, I'm just.
What I suggest we do, for this particular meeting is, deal with this motion that's on the table here now, and if we want to adjust it in the future, we can certainly bring it back again.
This is the first year.
This is our first time doing it. We don't know exactly how this is going to go out, so, discussion is, let's sort of dip our toe in it, and if it's successful, obviously we can certainly bring it back and have a look at it.
I think that 5,000 there just is more relates to a town that.
That's why I don't think.
I agree.
Yes, and
Yeah.
question.
So,
We'll do town.
so again, I think let's deal with the motions on the table now, and if it's of benefit to us in 6 months' time or a year's time, we can certainly come back.
It's gonna be on no problem.
Okay.
But then you can deal with that in your council meeting, Sheila, you're.
We're giving $1,000 minutes.
Yeah, no, I just want to make a comment here and that I would like to support it at a greater level. So I'm pleased to support it right now and with the motion that's on the table, but I do feel that $1,000 is not adequate for the type of work that needs to really set this organization in flight. So.
Do you know?
Yeah, and I would go as far as just to tell them that we want to be involved, that they're already planning, they're already at the ground floor. If we gave them $100,000 now, they wouldn't know what to do with it, so.
Yeah.
I would just say like, come back to us when you need us to move it to the next level.
Yeah, Lynn and I and Christie had a good chat on it, and then we sort of, let's dip our toe in here now and see what, it is a cooperative.
Yeah.
Just get to know it, and let's spread your wings a little bit, see where they're heading out, and we're good. I fully agree. I look forward to the city of St. John supporting Mount Pearl, Central South, Paradise, and so, Councilor Hickman, did you read the motion? Yes, I did. And we said a seconder, yes? I don't know. Seconder by Rod Laney. All those in favor? Carry.
No, we were looking at also the website platform upgrade.
Yeah.
Materials are there. Discuss various options. There's agreed to recommend that the board upgrade the current Craft CMS3 website platform to the Craft CMS5. That's a big one. It's available options. And we also continue that to be hosted by National Public Relations on servers in Canada. Decision was made to support Canadian partnerships to ensure strong security measures are in place. It will also improve staff's ability to manage, and update the website by providing greater administrative control. So that was a huge bonus over there. So be resolved, the board upgrade the website platform from Craft CMS3 to Craft CMS5 with options outlined by National Public Relations, and to continue to host the website with National Public Relations. So
Moved by Councilor Hickman, second by. Any discussion?
So, I did a little bit of research into it because I didn't know the distinction. And I know there was some debate about going to WordPress, which would be, WordPress, which would be more easily usable on our end and less technical. It seems like a lot of money just to go up the same notch and stay with the same platform. Because our website doesn't do anything that dynamic. It's not an online store. And there's even, like, although there's higher security and a little bit more usability to go to level 5. I'm not sure if that's even necessary, but I would just question whether we went out to the market and not necessarily on a large scale, like not going to the big guys, like the pilots and all the different, but whether or not there is a local, small, even independent contractor. And maybe that's your consultant. I don't know. It just, to me, I realize in the big scheme of things, it's not a lot of money, but $5,000 or $6,000 is a fair bit of money. If all they do is do something in the back end and it updates it, then they got to troubleshoot it, make sure there's no problems. But this is a pretty basic website. I would suggest WordPress might be a better way to go for this, probably the same amount of money.
Yeah, I guess from our perspective of what we're hearing, we have to get this website upgraded from CMS3 to 5. Basically to maintain, or the security of the website is in jeopardy if we don't. That's basically it. We had looked at hosting it on a different platform and having, better ability to manage, change things or add things, or to even include the appointment system for our bulk collections. Unfortunately, the pricing for that was through American companies, and the committee was clear. They're not considering hosting our website on any American server at this time due to security, concerns, major security concerns. GoDaddy was the recommended one. And of course, there's been a lot of issues with security for them at this time. So right now we're looking at just keeping it where it is currently hosted. Boosted up to the CMS, Craft CMS 5 to make it more secure. And this website was done around the pandemic or just before the pandemic, Christy. So basically it's due for a revamp anyway. And we'd like to make it a more dynamic site that has some interactive features. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going through the same process because I'm on GoDaddy. I have 50 URLs and 6 different websites. So I'm all about it, but I'm moving, I think it's Host Papa, which is a Canadian host, which has been well recommended, and cost to host was around the same, and I can send you the information. I'm just thinking in terms of, I think WordPress might be a better way to go. And you know, when you're dealing with sometimes they're self-creating, you know, like into perpetuity, but you know, it's just it's not a lot of money, I realize that, it's just my 2 cents for us, but.
My bigger thought, Tom, is that we're gonna be meeting with the Western Ridge and Central Service Boards on the 7th of March. And that I would like to see, because we all have our own websites right now, there's 10 different websites for 10 different services. That I'd like to take them all, put them into one, and then go out to market next year with a new website, new brand, new look. For all the service boards, so that we're all sort of using the same platform, that's easier than for us to share information. But yeah, well, that's.
So as the briefing note says, I did the RFP back early in 2024, when we started talking about this. I was actually dealing with Triware at the time. So Triware got out of the business, but then recommended a couple of people. So I did the RFP, issued it to, the original intent was to move it to WordPress. So I issued the RFP, went to people who Triware recommended, and didn't figure it a different level and want to go forward. So it was a call for bid, but and we got a couple other people who had local companies recommended. So I went to all of them. I got one bid back, which was off the wall. And so, no. So then when we went back through, we used our IT consultant, and we went back through national. And this is how all this dropped out, but the first thing we did was go local, and we just did not get any satisfaction. It was just.
Yeah, not the charts.
All right, so.
Pass, you know.
All those in favor, contrary, carried. All
No
right,
more tractors and walking floor trailers for Terrible. And all the materials there. 5-year plan, and of course that identified the need for 2 new trailers and 3 walking floor trailers for Terrible Transfer Station. So we started the public procurement process. We discussed the history of the station and the selection of the equipment was originally constructed. New Gen Municipal of Mississauga were engaged at that time to design and supply the augers and waste transportation trailers. At the board, all the board's current equipment Terrible complements the system airport, originates from the same company. So we also, after full discussion, felt that any new equipment, if coming from alternative suppliers, must do the same. They must also integrate really well, otherwise it will be a problem. So any further, you can should have Craig or Christie or.
I think Christie has the RFP completed, and it should be ready to go to market soon.
we'd like to get ahead of the tariffs because these things are made out of steel and aluminum.
Oh, my God.
Steel and aluminum, so we'd like to get them before they're 25% more expensive.
And those walking floors are US made, there's no Canadian option.
So
We can't do that tonight.
we can make a motion to move forward, right?
No, we don't need a motion to go to market, but as soon as we can, we'll come back with the results.
So that'll probably be done by email really quickly, so keep an eye out, get
Okay.
back to it within as fast as you can on the motions, because again, we're trying to get ahead of the.
All right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Great job. Strategy and Policy Committee, Councillor Tilly, Reception Bay South, is the committee chair, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Following our briefing notes from our strategy and policy committee meeting held on February 12th. No recommendations to bring forward. Just got a couple of updates. Agenda item 4B1, implementation of access cards at our waste recovery facilities. It was noted that the implementation of the access cards for users for board's waste recovery facilities continues. If you recall, the board provided a grace period of April 1st for the requirement of these cards. However, employees at several sites reported that they have already had visitors use their access cards. Currently, we have received more than 850 applications, and the processing of the applications continues to go well. Any questions for staff on that? Hearing none. Agenda item 4B2, security cameras at the Harbour Grace Waste Recovery Facility. It was reported that the 2 field cameras were installed at the Harbour Grace Waste Facility last fall, following complaints from the area that there was a lot of windblown debris leaving the site. Following several months of gathering data from the cameras, during which time we had several windstorms, it was confirmed that no large items were blowing off the site. The cameras demonstrated that very little debris was being blown off-site, except for some small lightweight material being blown from the berm area into the perimeter area of the site. Staff at these sites regularly clean up any litter and debris that may be caught along the perimeter. Unfortunately, the field cameras cannot be used over winter as they are battery operated and batteries do not last in the cold weather. 3 new cameras have been purchased, however, they send data by cellular service. To ensure that the data can be gathered and stored appropriately, cell phone boosters are being tested at the site. Once the committee has identified suitable surveillance cameras and a system whereby internet quality allows a safe transmission of data, the committee will bring forth the information to the board. Any questions?
No, we were sending out some pictures, I think, so I hope everybody got.
The committee did.
The committee, okay, we were sitting out, so the quality of the pictures are good, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what we see.
Yeah.
Well, staff sheet, so.
Agenda item 4B3, guidelines for deactivating access cards for non-compliant users at our waste recovery facilities. A brief note of documentation is included in tonight's meeting package. The board must operate all of these sites in accordance with the certificate of approval to operate as provided by Digital Government Service NL. In addition to a certificate of approval, the board requires all users to adhere to the province's respectful workplace policy. Unfortunately, over the past several years, the number of infractions at all sites, as well as the severity of infractions, have been on the rise. In the past year, we have had site attendants who have been verbally and physically threatened. This led our staff to request formal guidelines for banning non-compliant blind users from the board sites, as well as guidelines for deactivating the access cards that will become mandatory as of April 1. There is currently no direction for staff pertaining to how long users should be banned from these sites for non-compliance. Up to now, this has been done on a case-by-case basis by the Director of Operations, and the CAO will continue to make these decisions. The committee discussed restorative justice and requested that staff work with users to ensure that they are educated about these sites and to avoid being punitive whenever possible. The committee has worked on this over the past several months, and the guidelines tabled in tonight's meeting package are reasonable and a good beginning. The committee has requested that staff report any use of these guidelines to the committee so that they can continue to monitor these to ensure that they are suitable. Any necessary change will be brought forward to the board. In addition, the committee requested that the board remember that they are responsible for the safety of their staff while at work. Create an appeals committee to review the use of the guidelines to ensure they are appropriate and to provide an opportunity for a second opinion for users who are banned. As well, ensure staff at these sites are appropriately trained to deal with difficult people and situations, and to ensure management understand and apply these guidelines fairly. Any questions for staff?
Yeah, I mean, I know, I apologize, I missed that meeting. I love the appeals committee concept, but we obviously need to set up the process too. There needs to be appeals process and exactly that's got to be worked through. And then conflict management for the staff, I think training, which I know we're doing at the city now. I think it's something we should definitely bring,
Yeah, that's a good point, Councillor Davis. Christine and I actually have a day set aside in April for professional development for all the site attendants. We thought we'd let the cards go in use for a little while, week or two, then we'll pull them in. And just to, I guess we did this last year, and we thought we'd do it again once those cards are in use for a while. And part of that day will be a session on how to deal with difficult people in difficult situations. And I think that's extremely important for them to be given those tools. Yeah.
Agenda item 4B4, Old Particle Waste Recovery Facility, contract extension delay. The operation of the Old Harlequin Waste Recovery Facility is contracted out and the current contract ends on September 30th. This facility has been contracted out since it opened 12 years ago. The board does have the option to extend the contract for 2 one-year terms, and this option is usually exercised. However, following a recent inspection by the province's Environmental Protection Officer, the board was notified that the unacceptable waste was found at the site and that the waste had to be removed in a timely manner. The unacceptable items included old fishing nets, tires, rims, etc. The contractor worked with the Environmental Protection Officer and the board to bring the site into compliance by removing these materials. It was confirmed that all unacceptable waste has been removed by midday yesterday, February 25th. The contractor also operates a private commercial waste business at the site by accepting commercial waste from customers for a fee. This has been in place since the site opened. CAO and Director of Operations met with the contractor earlier this week to discuss the site and its future operations. They wanted to ensure that the contractor understood that he must never lay on the ground any commercial waste he accepts at the site. All waste accepted by his commercial business must go directly into a trailer that is kept at the site. The contractor was asked to ensure that they keep their commercial waste separate from the board's materials. The contractor stated he would ensure his staff are ready for the access cards that become mandatory as of April 1 for all users of the waste recovery facility. The committee will continue to monitor the operations at the site and will bring forward any recommendations regarding whether to extend the current contract over the next couple of months. Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll continue on to the final item. Agenda item 4B5, 2024 fourth quarter water wastewater quarterly report. The report has been included in tonight's meeting package for members' information. The regional water wastewater operator continues to assist 19 communities in the eastern region with their water issues in a consultative capacity. This program has been very valuable to our communities, and the board is pleased that the province will continue to fund it. Any questions for staff? Hearing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dilly. Up next is the Governance Committee. Councillor Bruce is going to take the floor on this one because Kevin is not available tonight.
Yeah, because Holly asked someone to say. Okay, so this is from the meeting we had on February the 19th. Agenda item 4C1, CRA statement of accounts. The quarterly statement of account for the board's payroll deductions is included for members' information and review. The statement in tonight's meeting package is for the fourth quarter of 2024. All payments for the fourth quarter are submitted correctly and on time. Are there any questions?
Hearing none.
Okay. Agenda 4C2 for professional development or opportunities for 2025. Briefing materials are included in tonight's meeting package for your review. The committee discussed the list of professional development opportunities presented in January and determined that the board should continue to look at, and there's two listed here. The Solid Waste Association in North America's Northern Lights Chapter Annual Conference being held in Winnipeg, June 11th to 13th. The board attended this conference in 2023 and found the topics to be relevant, especially for service delivery in remote and smaller communities. One of the topics identified for this year's conference is illegal dumping, so it may be beneficial for the board to participate. The board awaits publication of the conference agenda before making its decision. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities Annual Conference and Trade Show taking place in Ottawa from May 29th to June 1st. The board participated in this event in 2024 and found it valuable. The committee awaits the conference agenda before making its decision. I think there was also still a couple, maybe one or two other Canadian.
There was a Atlantic chapter SWANA.
Right.
I think that's in Halifax, late May.
Same time as
Yeah.
RCM.
Oh,
It's
same.
just, it overlaps each other.
Yeah,
The week
okay.
before.
Yeah.
we start the day.
But we're tracking that one and we'll bring forward.
Yeah, right. So I thought, okay. So more information will be brought forward to the board as it becomes available. Are there any questions? And I'm assuming if anybody has any interest in these, just reach out.
Yeah, please send me an email and I'll make it up.
Just a comment, we're seeing a cut through on the American ones right now, is that's the.
All done, yeah.
All
Yeah,
done.
they're all taken up.
Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you. Wow.
$10 billion. Is what we spend, we should spend, not us.
Yeah.
Canadians in general.
Yeah.
If we were, we'd be cool.
And that would be a good discussion.
Yeah, where we get that in the budget?
So agenda item 4C3, ERSB environmental policy renewal. Briefing material is included in tonight's meeting package for review. It was noted that the board has historically shown a moral commitment to the protection of the environment as well as the safety and well-being of its staff and the public. It was also noted that the board's vision statement addresses environmental stewardship. The governance committee reviews the environmental policy and the OHS corporate health and safety policy and recommends their adoption each year. So the motion is that be it resolved that the ERSB adopt a corporate environment policy that is included in the board's employee safety handbook. Are there any questions?
Hearing none, moved by Councilor Bruce, second by Councilor Mosley. All those in favor? Contrary, carried.
Agenda item 4C4, ERSB OHS corporate health and safety policy renewal.
Briefing material was included in tonight's meeting package for review. The committee discussed the policy and there were no questions or concerns brought forward. Again, the board adopts the OHS corporate health and safety policy annually. So it be resolved that the ERSB adopt the corporate health and safety policy, the occupational health and safety policy, and the early and safe return to work policy that is included in the board's employee safety handbook.
Moved by Council Bruce, second by Council Davis. Any discussion? All those in favor, Council carried.
Okay, agenda, where's not gonna come out now? How many hours in a? Agenda item 4C5, board meeting dates for 2025. Brief material was included in tonight's meeting package. Committee discussed the need for the modification of meeting dates for 2025. It was noticed that several staff and committee members will be out of the province at the end of May and early June. Therefore, it is being recommended that board meetings in April and May be moved to April 23rd and May 24th, to allow for the attendance of those participating in various conferences. It was also recommended that the September meeting be rescheduled to August 27th because of the general municipal election taking place on October the 2nd. The board will have to approve its 2026 budget, fee schedule, and other major business before the election. Any questions?
Sorry for the panic in y'all, but it's that season. Any discussion, any questions? Hearing none. Second by, hold on a second. All those in favor? Motion carried.
Agenda item 4C6, possible purchase of microphone speaker system for Eastern Regional Service Board meetings. Briefing material was included in tonight's meeting package. The committee discussed the need for a microphone speaker system to be used at monthly board meetings. Several members have noted issues with hearing others speak while attending in person. Options for a microphone and speaker system were identified in the briefing note and discussed by the committee. No recommendation to purchase a particular option was made at this time, as further options need to be identified and discussed. In the meantime, the discussion at the committee meeting noted that reconfiguration of the meeting room setup and attendees to speak loudly and clearly may assist in this being tried at this time. I think there was discussion about the way the owl works and the text to voice, and if you have a microphone system, kind of mess with that. Right?
Yeah, and I think that what we see here tonight is a reconfiguration, right, where we pull everything in and tighten.
Yeah.
And I think it's working better.
And I think we just need to be conscious of trying to raise our voices more and.
Elocution.
Just one point I'd like to make, and this is one that I make at city council on a regular basis, is the configuration when we work in squares. You can't see the people that you're talking to, and right now, of course, this whole line is back onto our presentations. It's very frustrating, and then you throw auditory issues on top of it. So I can't see Joe. I can't see, I'm just hearing you over here now. So these are things that are barriers, and I think that we do need to consider those in terms of inclusivity. So just
This is the
for
first
future
thing.
thought.
This is our first meeting, we set this up. But
Do you have a particular setup? Like, have you been to a meeting where a particular setup would work better than?
Round table, rounder, or circular oval or something like that, as opposed to square.
And that's very difficult to do when
I
you're
understand.
traveling.
I think we rotated this one click.
Yeah.
And had an empty table on that facing the screen.
They
would
don't
all
necessarily have
be
to meet or anything. It's just a configuration. Where to help.
Works better than square
a rectangle.
in most cases.
We'll continue to work on it.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to save $3,000.
But just to add one
Thank
more
you.
point, are we considering remote attendance? Because I know I found it challenging attending remotely to hear it.
Yeah.
So just throwing that out.
Yeah,
You
can hear
Can't hear you.
I'm gonna let Holly's been working hard on this, so I'll let you.
I thought that from a virtual aspect of it, everything was fine for when it come to volume.
Every now and again, there's a challenge to hear a speaker, depending on where you're speaking from, if they take up.
So that part of it for the virtual attendees can be fixed by, we actually have extra additional microphones that can connect to the owl. So we can spread them out and we can use those.
Sounds good.
So that part of it is easy, but the reconfiguration of the room is something that over the next couple of months, bear with us, we're gonna try our best.
Yeah, no, and I'm just trying to make some,
Yes.
It's valid points.
some positive suggestions,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah, because suggestions, I mean, it's hard. I haven't had an issue with hearing, but other people do. So if you have any suggestions, certainly let me know. We can try it for next meeting.
And it tends to be where it's like some of the outliers and attended meetings that sounds terrible, you know?
Yeah, like this particular room, we don't have an issue for the most part, but for example, when we went out to Long Harbor, that was a very big room with very high ceilings, and that was an issue, so it's something that we'll have to work on.
Yeah, Manuel's River Interpretation Center has the same sort of issue in there. They got a dead sound in their time.
I was just gonna say that buying the equipment's a good idea in theory, but you almost need a technician and you're gonna be bragging this.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the thing, because the other aspect of it was to keep it mobile, right? If we're gonna rotate our locations, then it's something that we have to be able to take with us. So then you're looking at, you know, an amplifier and, you know, things like that, so.
What I would suggest is anybody who struggles with their online in person, they should speak up, but at the very least, make sure it goes into you guys. So that we can all be conscious of what's going on and you can be aware of it. If there's anybody with issues, we should report it.
Yeah, great.
For the roundtable, obviously we're limited by the space in the room, but if I can make a suggestion, if you take these two tables and pull them outward and make a diamond, it's essentially rounded then and everybody more or less facing each other.
Fair enough, yeah. Again, this was kind of the first thing.
Yeah.
We'll jiggle it around next time, but.
And you can get smaller tables too. They don't have to be, like, that's an 8-foot table. They're 60.
It's about visibility.
Well, what the hotel has.
Yeah, I mean.
Anyway, we will continue to improve.
I guess it's fair to say though, like,
I'm sorry, guys.
Didn't even know he's there.
There we go.
is
Councilor Roos.
is it fair to say that maybe after each meeting, we could just quickly ask for feedback and say, you know, like, was it better than the meeting before, or was it worse? Did you compare, you know, I mean, feedback is helpful, I think.
Be patient with Holly.
Thank you.
It's all her fault.
Of course. We good?
Yep.
Agenda item 4C7, Joint Council's report. Briefing material was included in tonight's meeting package. Committee discussed the ongoing advancement of the Southern Shore Joint Council and Northeast Avalon Joint Council. The SSJC met on February the 5th and discussed the lack of broadband and cellular coverage in the area. I believe we might have seen. Mr. Ryan. Did a great job, everybody.
Thanks.
Really good job. A meeting will be requested with representatives from Bell and various government to discuss the matter further. The Northeast Avalon Joint Council Executive met on February the 14th to discuss possible presenters for future meetings. It is reported that the executives are taking their roles very seriously and see tremendous benefit in keeping the Joint Council active. Are there any questions?
I'd just like to add to that, if that's okay. With regards to the Southern Council, we did have a representative from the Joint Council attend a meeting last week, I believe it was, with M&L and Minister Goody Hutchings. So we're waiting for an update on that meeting, but then myself and the chair, we also have a meeting tomorrow morning with Bell Wyand. So we're seeing a little bit of movement around that.
Okay, that concludes my report for this evening.
Our joint councils.
Not
Thank you very
one
much.
sentence more. I don't think I got it in me tonight.
Well, who's doing the rescinding here?
You.
Oh, okay. I'll take over from you.
Oh, did I forget something?
No.
Okay. Just for me.
We have a motion to rescind, so we had bought a pickup truck. We all bought a pickup truck. They sold the pickup truck. We had to go buy another pickup truck. So having done that, we be it resolved that the board rescind motion number 2025-004 as adopted at the board meeting that was held on January 29th. That reads as follows: be it resolved that the board purchased a 2024 GMC Sierra 1500 Pro pickup truck from Terranova Motors for $63,033.20, including HST. So we're rescinding that one. Second by Tom. All those in favor, contrary carried. Next up, we're going to purchase a 2025 Sierra Pro pickup truck. So we got a newer year. Be it resolved that the board purchases a 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 Pro pickup truck from Terranova Motors for $70,166.65, including HST. So moved. Second by Carol Ridgely. All those in favor, contrary carried. And next one is accepting capital funding for the closure of Clarendon waste disposal site. And to upgrade the waste recovery facility. We received just slightly over $1 million from the province to get that done. We're not closing the facility. We're just capping off the old landfill that was there. So people from Claremont, don't get upset. We're not closing you down. We're just cleaning you up. Be it so resolved that the board accept the capital funding for the project 17 WSTM 25 00000 for the closure of the Claremont Waste Disposal Site Phase 2. And the waste recovery facility upgrade from the Canada Community Building Fund in the amount of $1,150,000, less the rebates of $107,140. So moved. Second by Larry Baders. All those in favor, any questions on that? No? Okay, all those in favor, touch carried. No correspondence, Lynn, I don't think.
No, we had an email request from Town of Victoria for a meeting in March that just came in yesterday. That's it.
Mr. Glenn up there, we'll be able to see you at some point in March. I'm gone for a few weeks. They still, Jason, they're going, he's not on the West Coast. No, we can't do that. We're not going together. We're going to have to go at the same time, but we might have a race across. Big town.
Last week.
No, I wasn't invited on that one. Round table. So we will start with Charles tonight. Because you're right in front of me. And he has his new card.
Thank you, Holly.
That means one of us.
I know you've made it win.
So normally I talk here about, by the way, I can talk about. So normally I talk about things that is upcoming at MSB. But I didn't have an update for tonight until the presentations here. So it was very heartwarming, and I'm very proud to listen to presentations about projects that we have funded.
Yeah.
So the idea of looking at waste as a commercial economic development opportunity came from MSB. We approached EcoNext to run this program for us. And so we're very proud of how they've been doing it so far, very happy. And the idea of a incubator, we think is a splendid idea, and funding that as well. But the other 4 projects that Audrey put on the screen, we funded each of those as well. And these are very good waste diversion projects, and we're very pleased about this. So I normally talk about things we're doing and coming forward. I never talk about all the things that we funded and all great waste diversion projects as well. So that was very good to hear tonight. And Hilda, you mentioned about fishing nets. So we did fund a project last year through Humber RMA a pilot project to look at recovery of ropes and other fishing items. We did specifically do fishing nets. This is a pilot, and we're going to try ropes first. And we're going to use the reduce, reuse, recycle principle, that there's an opportunity there for a lot of these materials to be reused first before they go to landfill. So that's my update for the
one fishing boat that can bring in a net like 2 tons.
Yeah.
I mean, they can use more garbage than 10 families for 6 months.
Yeah.
It's such a big item. It's not just a little family, it's huge.
Yeah. Glenn, do you have anything?
Oh, nothing for tonight, thanks.
Ron?
No, thank you, sir.
Harry?
I'll just touch on that we're still continuing to make progress with respect to the new lift station 10, which is now called the St. Thomas Line Pump Station. So hope to be on in the coming months. And of course, I'm sure as everyone has heard around the table, not only did we have the bad luck back in November with respect to the lift station 10, but of course we had a depot fire just 3 weeks ago, which we're still not back in that facility, including the town hall. Will be out of it for months with smoke damage. Of course, there's been quite a number of pieces of equipment still in the depot that we're still not able to get access to, including snow, sidewalk blowers, trout warming equipment, so on and so forth. But all that being said, we do appreciate the help from neighboring communities, including town CVS, city of Mount Pearl, and of course, city of St. John. So we are most appreciative for your efforts.
So I spoke to Mayor Bobbitt today, actually, and we had a quick chat on that. So glad to see it's starting to settle down in it. So it's important to have good staff around you at that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Bill?
All good.
Sheila?
Nope, fine, thank you.
Carol? Rod?
Conception Bay North Joint Council's meeting tomorrow night. I'll have their election of officers.
Good job.
Good thing to know.
Look forward to hearing who's on board.
Yeah. Looking forward.
Yeah, good to have them back. Jill?
Just the kickoff event this morning for the ECMAs. They are there and Councillor Davis and Deputy Mayor was there as well.
Sandy.
Oh, it's Sandy, sorry. Sandy, how could I say?
So little, that no one knows.
Not calm. There was a great event. They named the nominees for the event and Tom Power's gonna be the MC, sorry. I think he's not.
How do you spell it?
So, yeah, I think we're in for a great event. Kick off spring and lead us into the summer of all the other fun stuff we got going. So, no doubt it'll be fun, for sure.
That was a good time. Right?
I'm speechless.
Lynn?
I'm not speechless, but I'll pass this evening.
Oh, yeah.
Today is Pink Shirt Day,
Yeah.
anti-bullying. So if you can be anything, be kind.
Thank you. Good break. Thank you. Mayor Brain?
Yeah.
No, Chrissy? I'll give, no, Sandy, Linda?
One thing I was asked to bring to the board was, the town is looking to recycle, some of their plastic, I guess, bottles, containers, whatever, the clear bags.
Yeah.
And they asked me to bring it to the board and the board to put together a package to the town. We can't afford, of course, as a small town, we can't afford an extra vehicle just to pick that up. But since the board does pick up in Blaytown, it's right next to us, so wondering if the continuation there, you can have a look at it and put some numbers together and get back to us, and I'll address it at our next meeting. One other thing I would like to add is, good news for us. We get to have the torch relay come through our town from the Orange Store to a beautiful park, to Robert Bounds Park. And we get 3 athletes in our town gets to pass the torch, so. We get to close the road in a big event. I've given the firemen, the hockey players, the skaters. I got them all on the buses galore. And I even expect to get some people from outside the community to watch the torch be passed, etc. So that was kind of exciting and that it for me.
Great. Good.
All good CDs.
Out. Tom?
I just want to float the idea that something that I think all municipalities should be considering is having jugs of water and glasses at your community events and encourage your sports teams as well to have big coolers of water for the kids to bring their own refillable things. I think it's like a disconnect when if young kids and coaches show up with, cases of water and cases of Gatorade. I don't know if we can find a way to get that message to suggest that reducing is like the key R that we need to focus on. I just want to plant that seed.
Good point.
We actually installed some, vertical.
Water refill stations.
Yeah, it's a few of our public buildings, so.
The ones that we have for summer games.
Yeah, so. And they count the number of bottles, like the guys, like how many bottles you say.
Charles, I would like to congratulate the MMSB for stepping up for the summer games.
Yeah.
You didn't bring that up, but I know you made a significant donation to make it the greenest games in the history of the Canada Summer Games, so I look forward to seeing that.
There's a model going forward for other games.
Yeah. Raise the bar, that's what we do here all the time.
Not only are we giving them money, Mr. Chair, but we're also helping to develop sustainability plan.
Yeah. And last from me, I don't have much other than happy birthday, Gerard. I know it was yesterday. I would sing to you, but it's getting late.
It's wonderful. I was enjoying the birthday.
So with that, I would like to take a minute.